family of 3 drifted at sea for 3 days and 3 nights. Just when they were on the verge of despair, a fisherman suddenly found them and kindly handed Mike a bottle of water. However, just when Mike thought he was saved, the fisherman suddenly demanded a reward. At that moment, Mike was still immersed in the joy of being rescued, so he quickly agreed, saying he was willing to give $10,000 as thanks. But to his surprise, the fisherman was not satisfied. Seeing this, Mike hurriedly said he could give $40,000, everything his family had saved. However, the fisherman's attitude remained unchanged. Instead, he asked Mike how much his whole family was worth and then directly demanded $1 million. Mike was helpless, saying he was just an ordinary doctor and could never have that much money. But the man found it amusing and said, "You spent $10,000 on a vacation here, that's 4 times what I make in a year of fishing." Clearly, the fisherman had already assumed Mike was wealthy. Seeing Mike refuse, the fisherman turned to leave, ready to abandon them. Watching their last hope of survival slip away, the extremely weak Mike had no choice but to agree to the fisherman's demand. But he needed time to gather the money from his friends. After receiving a firm promise, the fisherman tied Mike up and took him aboard his boat. Mike anxiously asked the fisherman about his family, but the fisherman said that only after receiving the money would he take Mike back to the island to rescue his wife and child. He also warned Mike not to play any tricks because the island he was stranded on was impossible for anyone else to find. After reaching shore, Mike quickly called his friends for help, but when it came to borrowing money, only a few were truly willing to help him. In a short time, he managed to gather only $190,000. At this point, Mike was out of options. He could only threaten the fisherman, saying this was all he had. If the fisherman refused to take him back to the island to save his wife and child, Mike swore he would ensure the man spent the rest of his life in prison. Under pressure, the fisherman finally agreed. After confirming the payment, he took Mike back to the dock, preparing to set off for the island. However, at this moment, the fisherman ordered Mike to drive a separate fishing boat and follow them. Desperate to save his wife, Mike didn't overthink it and stepped into the cabin. But then the fisherman suddenly locked the cabin door from the outside. Panicked, Mike questioned the fisherman's intentions, but the fisherman replied that he was afraid Mike would escape and call the police. He promised to release Mike once they reached the island. With no other choice, Mike could only steer the fishing boat and follow behind. However, midway through the journey, the fisherman suddenly changed his mind. He signaled Mike to stop and come closer. Then shockingly, the fisherman grabbed a harpoon, jumped onto Mike's boat, and began stabbing the deck furiously. Soon seawater gushed in. A family of 3 drifted at sea for 3 days